Cooney, loser, bold guy. Cooney, 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 Cooney. Cooney, 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 Cooney. Cooney, 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 Cooney. Cooney, Cooney, upstays alive.
All right, welcome back to Raccoon Tweeties. On today's episode, well, first of all, join the Patreon.
Yes.
We've reviewed a bunch of stand-up specials. We've done Shane Gillis, Ari Shaffir.
Nick Cannon was this week.
Nick Cannon was this week,
Yeah.
and it was blockbuster. It was very bad. You kind of have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we have a guest on the show, and introduce him. Very big guest for me. He is one of the hosts of the Sports Junkies, one of my favorite shows when I was living in Arlington, Virginia, which is where I'm from. Listened to it every day in the morning at work where I hated my job, didn't really do my job. Mainly just got cised to listen to the Sports Junkies. So joining us on the podcast today is JP Flaim.
Thanks, man. It's a real compliment when people say they used to listen when they lived by us. And even though we're available on an app,
Right.
the Odyssey app, which you can listen to us every day or
Right.
podcast us every day, hey, at least you used to listen to us.
Yeah, that's right. I don't have the best brains for the art speak. I'm going to be using a lot of Schaubisms on, which I
It's
know
all
you're
good.
not super familiar with, but you can learn them as we go along. It's a great show, so you can listen. What Odyssey app?
Odyssey app.
Nice. Okay, so check.
Do you
want to
give him a little bit of a quiz to see if you truly did listen or no?
No, that's okay.
You trust him?
Look, somehow I ended up here. I was like in and out of the lift ride here.
Yeah. Right.
I woke up and I saw a gonorrhea sign.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting bad out
And
there.
then, a couple of homeless encampments that we drove by. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what am I walking myself into?
Yeah. Very
And then the
much so.
guy dropped me off, and there's 3 different addresses on this house.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, where am I? Please tell me that I'm showing up to the
Yeah.
right spot.
That's to deter the haters, B.
Yeah. We're trying to keep out the haters and all that. Gonorrhea signs, homeless people. We pay them to be there. Yeah, but let me tell your origin story a little bit, at least for this show. So my best friend, Othman, who our listeners have heard of, he kind of gave me the idea to start focusing on Brendan Schaub. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what spiraled it. We watched the Gringo Poppy. Have you seen the Gringo Poppy?
I saw a little bit of it, but I've seen him in person at the DC Improv.
Yes.
Shout out to my friend Eric Spritz. This is how this happened.
Right.
So my buddy Eric Spritz is a huge MMA guy. He's a brown belt jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
And we became friends 7 or 8 years ago, neighbors. And we actually started working out together a little bit because I had boxed. He did jiu-jitsu. He's also a big Rogan guy. And somehow along the way, Brendan Schaub was brought up, and he was weirdly obsessed, probably like you guys, in somebody being that untalented and unfunny
Right.
that we went to see him at the DC Improv.
Right.
And so we went to his show.
So let me ask you this. Do you, and if you know, let me know if you know what this means, but is Eric homeless? Your friend Eric.
He is not homeless.
Do you
And
know
I
what
don't know what that means.
Okay, all right. So homeless is like when you don't like Brendan Schaub. There's
Okay.
Do you know about the Reddit?
I do not.
All right. So
I'm walking in pretty blind here.
Good. Well, hey,
It's a
let's-
connection, like you brought up your connection with Othman, your friend. He used to work at the radio station where
Right.
I worked. The connections of Brendan Schaub. I'd been to a show. Hey, you should do this. You're in LA. Boom. I didn't realize LA is a big city. Like if you call this LA,
Right.
okay, it's LA, but it was an hour away.
Yeah. It definitely. Well, it's the East Side, and then Hollywood. When people go to Hollywood, I'm like, yeah, come over, but it's going to be like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I had no
At least,
idea.
it's even
I
more-
actually, I thought I was going to borrow. My daughter moved here to West Hollywood a few months ago.
Oh, that's
She
far.
has a car, and I was like, oh, I'll just be able to. Maybe my daughter can drop me off. She's going with my wife and my other daughter, her sister, to Rodeo Drive. So I was like, I'm going to bail out of that Rodeo Drive. But it's perfect time to do this podcast thing, and it's only 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. Then I look, it's an hour-long show. But anyway, we're here. We're alive. We're going to have fun. We're connected. You know the junkies. You don't have to prove it.
Can I ask, how did you end up at a Brendan Schaub show, if you can remember?
No, I mean, it's as simple as my buddy Eric, who's a Rogan guy, an MMA guy, saw that he was coming. He was like, let's go see his show.
Oh, okay.
When you went to see a show, though, did Eric bring you there because he doesn't like Schaub? Or
Correct.
he's like, okay.
He has sent me videos in the past of not you, but others that just mock Brendan Schaub. There's a whole religion of mocking this guy.
Right. So when he texts you or like hits you up to go see the show, is he like, we got to go see the worst comedian ever? Or
I can't remember exactly. It was like, here's the thing.
Sure.
We all have kids.
yeah.
Me, I don't know that you have kids. I don't think you have kids.
no.
But my buddy Eric has kids. It was like, let's go out with the wives, have a good time. We'll go
Right.
to DC Improv.
Right. And when you went there, how was the show?
The show was very mediocre.
Ooh.
Right.
The second comedian, who I don't remember, was better than Brendan Schaub, who was the headliner.
Dang, naming the waters. Oh, really, dude? You probably don't remember, but I'll ask anyways because I have to. Do you remember any of the jokes that he
I
did?
don't remember any of the jokes. What I remember my vibe was, and I remember talking about this as we drove home, I felt like he was making up a lot of stuff. His stories are made up.
That's a very good. You have the best brains for the arts beat because that's like half of. So what? Let me explain the Reddit. The Reddit is just like it started as a fan group for Schaub from his fighting days, and then he had the show with Callan. Have you actually before I explain? Have you had either of them on the Junkies?
I'm not.
No, neither one. Callan
Neither one.
Well, good choice. Good for you. The Sports Junkies interview all types of comedians that come through the town. They come on your show and all that.
Sure.
So, yeah, but. So back to the Reddit. It's a subreddit. It started as a fan group, and then Schaub and Callan got so annoying that it kind of flipped into a hate group.
Right.
And these guys, these chefs, as they're called, make clips from their podcast and post it. Yeah. So it's just like totally hating on it. And you're totally unaware of that?
I'm not a Reddit guy.
Right. That's so
I'm
much.
aware that it's out there. I'm not somebody that's clicked
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
That's so funny because you're gonna stumble into Schaubisms by
Sure.
accident. I think doesn't Schaub say that on the Bobby
Yeah.
Lee? He's like, I don't really understand Reddit or whatever.
He's trying to tell them how he knows Bobby Lee is like the owner of this hate group.
Okay.
And then they ask him like, do you know how Reddit works? And he goes, no.
Yeah.
By the way, we've had Bobby Lee on the show several times, and
okay.
I've gone to see him. I think I went to see him at the Arlington Cinema and Draft House. Doesn't matter where I went to see him.
Right, right.
Hilarious.
Great
He's
place.
fantastic.
Yeah. When the
You may be a hater of Bobby Lee too. I don't know.
No. Bobby Lee's amazing. Yeah.
JP just assumes we hate everybody. It's like yes, or haters and losers.
And also, hate is a strong word because I honestly love Brendan Schaub.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing his merch right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the comedian Brendan Walsh? Have you ever heard of him?
No.
All right, he's like another guy that does stand up, and he bought us all this like thick boy merch.
Oh, very nice.
So we'll randomly have hats and basketball jerseys. This is a wild show. But the Reddit thing where I was going is one of the most popular points on the Reddit is that Schaub lies.
Yes.
And just makes up stories.
Has to.
Yeah, like he'll say that when he was a kid, he sold comic books out of his house to all people, like random old men would come into his house and sell.
That's his setup for some huge punchline.
Yeah, where the punchline is like, and the guys were gay. A lot of his punchlines are like, someone is gay,
Yeah.
or like he has a big dick. That's a lot of Schaub stuff. Do you remember any of the stuff he lied about?
I don't remember. See, I might be conflating because after I went to see his show, I may have watched his special or watched his special before going to see his show, kind of as a curiosity. And I remember the whole thing about buying the burgers. He had like a whole setup, I think, of getting high and buying everybody into McDonald's.
That might have been from the show,
drive-through.
dude. That might have actually been from the. Does he say that?
Yeah,
Like, you
maybe
should be
he buys
surprised?
like 250 quarter pounders with cheese or something like that.
Yeah,
And
I think that is his first one.
I think you should be surprised.
Yeah.
So he just
Yeah.
stole an epic mealtime bit for that. You remember that show?
No.
That's another show where people
I'm
just buy
probably
a
a
bunch of burgers.
terrible guest because I don't know anything that you're talking
No,
about.
I mean listen. You right now is us at the beginning.
Yeah.
So like anyone watching this is getting.
I hope that I don't
flashbacks.
become you. Please tell me. I'm not going to start doing these deep dives into Brendan Schaub.
We just got
To
cadooshed
me,
by JP.
the truth was,
Cadooshed.
I went to the show with my buddy, our wives,
Yeah.
our friends. We had a good time. I will say, I think we actually, because my buddy is this nerdy,
Right.
we took a picture with him afterwards, which I think I'd sent you. Right. And the picture, you have like this moment of small talk with him, and he lines
Yeah.
up with, two beautiful ladies, and he's feeling all good and big. And I think my buddy said something to him about, "Oh, you should have done his show," which I hate,
Right,
but
right,
my
right,
friend's
right.
throwing that in. You should have done the show. And he big timed it. He was like, "Well, I was already sold out."
Damn, dude.
Wow.
That's great. Wait, you should have done like the Sports Junkies? And
Correct.
Man, what a dick.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's so stupid too. It's all right. I doubt it. That's another thing he says. Every show is sold out, but then he has to cancel a show because there's not enough people that went.
Yeah.
So like we don't do this. We're like Gerardo was saying, we're kind of fans.
Oh yeah. No, he's amazing to me.
We like
Seriously.
We've watched the Gringo Poppy, which is his second special,
Okay.
like 20, 30 times.
Wow.
Last month alone.
That's an exaggeration. I don't like how he said "wow." He thought less of us in that moment.
Yeah.
Well, he should. I mean, we're weirdos. We're trying to make a career off some guy we don't know who could kill us. So it doesn't. What we're doing makes no sense. We don't matter. We don't count, as they say.
But it's hitting.
Yeah, it's it. Well, I guess what people like it.
Define hitting.
You define it. But yeah,
Tens of views.
Tens of views. Yeah.
I wanted to go back though. So Oathman put me onto the Sports Junkies,
Right.
And I started listening to them, and he came up with the idea. And then his friend, was also my roommate, Blue Shorts. I've mentioned him on the show, and they have a show called "It Doesn't Matter," which you did, right?
Correct.
Right. How was that?
It was fun.
It was fun.
You know, like they're guys who we've been doing radio for 27 years.
Right.
And so along the way, we've met all these different guys and who've wanted to break into radio. And both Oathman and Blue Shorts at some point worked at the radio station. And we're just, you know, they actually did a bit on our show. We used to do the spring break party, which you said you may have
Right.
come to.
Yeah, Sundress
We'd have
Says.
about 1,000 people come out, 1,500 people do wacky bits. And they did something called the Get Huge Club, where they worked out for like a month or so, jumped on stage in Speedos, all oiled up.
Right.
And kind of ruined the vibe that most of the guys that listen to our show is, our demo is men 25 to 54. So the
Yeah.
spring break party was have a bikini contest. I mean, some things that we probably couldn't even do now.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
hey, let's go homoerotic and throw 3 guys on
Yeah.
stage posing off against each other.
Oh my god.
I was there. I saw it. And what I want, that's a good thing that you brought that up, because I saw they got really yoked.
Yes.
They took their shirts off and they were doing like this, and it was kind of
got
embarrassing.
oiled up.
Yeah, but Shorts has the confidence to do something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where he's just in a Speedo basically showing his body to everybody. But when a longtime friend goes on his podcast, like you
Right.
or Cakes or even like Brett, he gets nervous.
Yes.
In the interview, and he gets like shaky voice. He's nervous. It would be like if Miguel came on this podcast and I was like, Miguel, we just had lunch together. Do you like comedy? Because I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm an idiot. I'm like, why do you think he does that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Because I heard him on my episode and on other episodes.
Right.
Because they did a month dedicated to the junkies. There are
Yes.
4 of us. They called it the month of Junkies.
Yeah.
And every time he said that he was nervous, it's like, I've known you for a decade, probably
Right.
longer than a decade. What are you nervous about? It makes no sense.
I don't get it.
I clearly can tell you're not nervous.
No. I'm not nervous. I'm more of a numbers guy. I'm always thinking about the numbers. Well, do you have because I know people really don't know Shorts, but do you have any advice for Blue Shorts when it comes to being nervous and just like talking about, like when he starts a podcast, he'd be like, all right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We just bought a camera. Like he'll say something like that. Like we're going to get an audio machine. Or like he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
I've given him some advice. My number one piece of advice is just get into your material.
Right.
Yeah.
Just get into your material. Start your show. What are you going to talk about? Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings me to something I wanted to ask. When it comes to the difference between podcasting and radio, right? I feel like radio is more zany. Do you know what that word means? I don't know.
Sure.
Right? What does zany
I am
mean?
aware of what zany means.
What is zany?
Wacky.
Oh, okay, wacky. Yeah.
Sure.
So like, not. And I hope it's not like a negative connotation of what radio is, but in my opinion, it's like try to keep the listener engaged in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some shows that are like that. I'm sure
okay.
we've been zany at times, but
Yeah.
our show tends to be real. Like for those that don't know our show,
Yeah.
we're 4 guys that grew up together, and
Oh,
we
okay.
stumbled into radio. I mean, that's the reality of it. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school.
Oh, wow.
One of the other guys was studying for his master's, got a master's degree. One of the other guys was a manager at Toys R Us, and we started doing a cable access TV show for fun. And then that snowballed, and 27 years later, we're still doing our show.
Yeah.
So our show is really 4 guys hanging out.
Okay.
Like, what are 4 guys hanging out talking about if you're at a bar or you're at a restaurant?
Yeah.
And our show is more sports related because we are into sports, but it can also be about bitching about our wives or our lives or anything.
Right.
Showing up in the middle of LA on a vacation in this shady little apartment house. Like, what am I doing? I could be murdered right now.
Yeah, dude, you're that white boy that worked too much. That's another.
They call this the hostage room. Yeah.
You know, that's our Patreon name for this room. Temple Law School. Ever heard of it? I'm just gonna keep doing Schaubisms. Oh man.
So what's the sport that brought you guys together? Like what was the original interest?
I mean, the original story of it's been told a million times, but EB, one of the hosts of the show, who I grew up across the street from, his now wife, he was visiting her house, and the mother-in-law saw this cable access show and said something to the effect of, "This reminds me of you and your friends." And then I was home that summer after my first year of law school. He comes to my house that night and was like, "Would you ever want to do a TV show?" I was like, "Sure." And at the time, Cakes, who lived down the street, he was about to get married, so he was living at home. We're all losers. We're all living at home. And we called him to come up, and we taped something like in a small room like this for a couple minutes. Like, we can do it.
Yeah.
I called City Hall, and a couple weeks later, we were taping TV shows.
Okay.
That's crazy.
And we were into sports, so it's called the Sports Junkies.
The zaniest thing about your show, I think, probably is the lingo. Because not unlike Shabanese, which is
Right.
what me and Gerardo are learning by watching the cats. You guys have like silly, cised, Rick, felted. You said one earlier, but
I may have. I tried to slip out of it. Like, I'm with other people. I'm with the common folks.
Right,
So why would I call you hurting?
hurting. Yeah, that's an insult.
But they can go all kinds of ways. Like, donkey is something that we throw
donkey,
out there.
right.
Donkey can be
When you're
negative,
down.
but it can also be like, "What's up, donk?"
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Donk. Yeah, it's a lot of like poker stuff too, because you're a big poker guy.
I particularly am not, but
You're
a
not.
couple of guys on the show are.
You had that show that you guys would do at a casino, right? Where you
We do a poker open every year. We've set the record in Maryland. Most people in a poker
Right.
tournament for the Junkies Poker Open. So poker's a big thing with a couple of the guys, particularly Cakes.
So, like with the Sports Junkies, Shabanese, I would say the main ones are like if something is Negflix. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
Negflix is when something's really good. So
Okay.
like Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Is the wrong way to say blockbuster? That's when something is bad. So
All right.
like a junkies, that would be like silly, I guess.
Yeah.
Versus nubs.
There you go.
And I still use nubs.
You
Have
got
you
it.
heard of any of these?
No, I hear you use them all the
Right.
time. Yeah.
And you say
So
you
this
get
is like Schaub 101 right now.
yeah.
yeah. I like the idea of teaching because the Sports Junkies.
I'm a Schaub noob.
No. You guys used to be like my North Star. You're kind of still my North Star.
I appreciate it.
That's another Schaub thing. It means like what you're trying to get to. I'm also inspired by the story of the Junkies. You guys were like older, like where's it, late 20s when you started?
Mid-20s.
Mid-20s. So we're way past that. But I still think there's hope. You guys just got together and you wanted to do a show, and then it became like the biggest show in morning sports, right? And like you were huge. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say
All
the
right.
biggest show in morning
Or like
sports,
one of,
but
like-
we've done all right.
Yeah, you've done really well. So we would like to do that, but instead of like putting in time and meeting and coming up with like a sports topic, we're just gonna like shove Schaub down people's throats.
I think that works, man. I like your
Until-
timer. I've seen you do the timer bit.
Oh, yeah, start
yeah.
to play the chin clip. Yeah, that's because Schaub has like a guy named Chin on his show.
Okay.
And instead of saying like clip, he says chin. He like messes up the words. Sometimes I feel like we're going too far bullying him, but I don't know. It's just, but I think we're having fun with it. I really want to know what like he thinks. That's what. Have you ever had beef with people on the Sports Junkies?
We have had. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time. We've
Right.
had some beef.
Like who? Like Don and Mike or? Blue
I mean,
shorts.
if you want to go way back in the day, how many people would know this in DC? Don and Mike show were a huge show. Mike, fantastic guy. I won't say the same thing about Don.
Damn, you heard it. Don sucks. He just got gadooshed.
No, I mean, I could tell you a little story. It's actually in my
Yeah,
book. If I want to give a plug to my book,
Yeah,
Still
plug,
Barking,
please. Yes.
which came out a couple years ago, still available on Amazon. Don was a very well established show. Don and Mike, Don Geronimo is the guy that we're talking about here. Don and Mike show were very well established, kind of a wacky show.
Yeah.
They were a morning show for years, but then they moved to afternoons on the station, which we began on, which was 106.7 WJFK, which was a hot talk station with Howard Stern in the morning. Then Don and Mike was kind of the afternoon drive anchor. When we started first on the weekends, then we became the nighttime show, and we started getting popular. I think he felt threatened by it. And their bit was, this is kind of an inside radio thing.
Sure.
Their show was 3 to 7 p.m. We were supposed to start at 7 o'clock. Well, we would start our show sometimes 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, because what he was doing is he was dumping all of his commercials into our hour so that he could go an hour commercial free. And then that's obviously going to help your
Yeah.
ratings when you don't have people changing the channel because of commercials.
Right.
And he was dumping that into our hour because we were like the new guys. But the reality is he felt threatened by us. And at one point he became our boss as a program director.
Whoa.
And this was our power play. We basically had an agent who told them we won't resign if he's still our boss. And he resigned from that position.
Damn. Talk about naming the waters. You turned the tables on that guy. You know, he just got gadooshed.
Yeah.
Don,
Oh,
did you hear about this?
No.
Don Geronimo, I don't know, he was at a Redskins practice or something like
So
that.
he resurfaced, like he left radio in DC for years. He moved to Sacramento. I think he got remarried. His wife passed away, unfortunately, in a tragic car accident.
Jeez.
Anyway, in the last couple of years, he came back to DC and started a morning show on 100.3, I believe it is. And it's like an oldie station, classic rock type of station.
Right.
And they got the rights to the Washington Now Commanders.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
so he did what you can't do nowadays. You know, you got to watch what you say if you're in radio. And I think he called a different sportscaster Barbie, and then there was some.
It was weird. It was like, hey, Barbie. Hey, like a creepy old man,
Yeah,
like yelling at
exactly.
her and like saying, he said something else. I wish I could remember.
I read the reports. I didn't hear it. I think they maybe called her tight. Or
Yes. Yeah, dude. That's what makes it even creepier.
Yeah.
It's like the hey Barbie thing is weird, especially since she's not, well, in addition to the fact that she's not that old, like she's not young, like super young. I mean, it's weirder to call like an older lady that, I think. Or maybe I'm just being weird saying that. But it was like the tight thing. That's what made it even creepier, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Brendan calls me that all the time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear it.
Right.
I just saw the
That's
news,
true.
and he ultimately got fired.
We weren't there. What do you think about the commander's name?
It doesn't bother me. Now, I grew up in the D.C. area in the suburbs of Maryland. I didn't grow up, though, a Washington Redskins fan, so I don't feel that passion.
Right.
My father was born in Italy, came to this country, ultimately located in Baltimore. I became a Baltimore fan. I liked the Colts growing up.
Right.
So I don't have that
You didn't have the
super
thing.
passion. Like, how could they change the name from Redskins? It needs
Yeah.
to go back to Redskins. I hate the name Commanders. There are a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the name either. Since moving to LA, I kind of just stopped caring about sports almost entirely. Like I watch MMA somewhat and some NFL, and Oathman is pretty much the same way, I think. As a sports guy, the Sports Junkies, do you look down on people that don't like sports?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, Gerardo's like a big basketball
Huge.
guy.
Yeah, I love basketball. I don't like football. I'll watch the Super Bowl, or if my dad's watching like some conference playoffs or whatever. But
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Because we had a little discussion this before the show.
Yeah.
All right. You're of Mexican descent.
Yes.
You don't really speak Spanish. I'm half Puerto Rican, half Italian. I don't speak great Spanish. I understand everything. But if my name was Gerardo,
Yes.
I wouldn't go by Gerardo. Where was the decision to become Gerardo?
I mean, how much time do you got? No, I mean, I grew up in a I went to school in like a very white neighborhood.
Right? And
so
people had trouble pronouncing it?
Yes, it's
Got anglicized.
Yeah, it's a big issue. Like go to Starbucks and say Gerardo, and they have a heart attack. You know what I mean? When they write their name down. But
But were you ever Gerardo?
Gerardo, like my mom and dad call me
Okay,
that all the
exactly.
time. Yeah, but and people give me flack about it. You know, like if I say like, "What's your name, Gerardo?" They'll be like, "Oh, fucking, you go by Gerardo." It's like, I mean,
Right.
I don't know. Like that, I have a joke. One of the longest jokes that I have on stage is my name. But I recently have said like my name is Gerardo. But like the joke kind of is better if I say my name is Gerardo and then go into the joke because it's explaining how different
Gotcha.
people say the name.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, it's all fucked. Like Gerardo is a terrible. I don't have a middle name. There's no backup plan. It's just Gerardo.
You say it both ways,
Yeah.
right? Both ways.
Yeah. And so like I wrote the other day about like why the fuck would you name your kid Gerardo? You know, and who's like, Gerardo or like and who's the doctor that allowed you to walk out that fucking office? You know, like there was no like roasting session like preemptively to make sure that I don't have a hard life growing up with my name. And also it's a bit too. It's not really that hard. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
The same with Oathman, though. Like
Right.
Oathman's a fucked up name.
yeah, nobody knew that. There was a whole teachers would laugh.
that. I think he introduced himself as Othello to me.
Oh, right. That was like
I've
the
only
nickname.
known Othello.
Yeah, Othello's the nickname from Chad Dukes.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think. Or like that's around the time he started. Because
Right.
anyone in that circle, the
Yes.
Chad Duke circle, they pick up nicknames and
Sure.
stuff like that. And he asked them to show them his dick and all this weird shit that they do together. Did you know that?
I did not know that specifically, but that sounds like a Duke staple.
Yeah. So he believed right away. It's gonna be 10 minutes of Chad Dukes. And, if only he had the reach for that. And you're like you're boxing. You used to do boxing, right?
I mean, when people bring it up, because I did fight a professional boxing match at the Page Center, but it was really only 7 weeks of my life. I had a crazy idea. There used to be a show called The Contender, which was Sylvester Stallone was on it, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
It was a reality show on NBC, and there was a guy from Fairfax, Virginia named Jimmy Lang who was on the show. And when he came off the show, he did a fight at the Patriot Center, and he kind of became like a local celebrity. And he came on our show, and I went to the boxing match. And when he came in with the ring entrance, I believe he did Johnny Cash and then into Metallica. I just had one of those crazy light bulb moments. I was like, I want to make that happen. And to make a long story short, I made that happen. The show business was great. The fight business, not so good.
Right.
But I actually made the fight happen.
It's interesting because it's kind of like you went the opposite of Schaub. You had success in media, and then you went into fighting.
Yes, but to say I went into fighting again, it was
It
one
was
and done.
I guess so, but I would never do that.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay you to do that, right? Or did you?
I got paid a little something.
Okay. Well,
I mean, that
that's
was
cool.
part of my deal. Like,
Right.
I mean, to make a long story short, Jimmy Lang's manager was his dad.
Okay.
I saw his dad at a bar, and I pitched my idea,
Right.
and he immediately he saw dollar signs.
Right.
But ultimately, I was like, I need to get paid a little something.
Sure.
I believe I probably made them at least 6 figures in revenue that they wouldn't have, because
Right.
after my little fight, which was on the undercard, it was 2 fights before the main event.
Right.
What I've been told is about 2,000 to 3,000 people walked out of the arena. They just wanted to see, they wanted to see my crazy
Yeah.
fight. Like what happens when a guy who's never really been in a fight in his life, who grew
Yeah.
up in the suburbs, steps in the ring with a professional boxer.
Yeah, like a big silly in media versus a professional boxer.
Yeah.
And how did that go? I don't remember.
You can YouTube it. It went
Yeah.
it went 2 minutes and 59 seconds.
So you like you got knocked out, or
I got stopped. Yes.
right.
I was in shape, but the truth is, I will respect anybody who's done a real boxing match,
Yeah.
UFC, MMA, and all that stuff. Because even though I trained and I sparred a bunch of rounds, when I actually stepped in the ring, it felt like I was on speed.
bet.
And the truth of the matter is, when you spar, you're sparring with people that you know, and usually you have headgear and you have bigger gloves.
Yeah.
And the first time I got cracked with no headgear and the smaller 6-ounce or 8-ounce gloves, I can't remember what it was that we fought with, versus the 16-ounce gloves, I felt a big difference. And I walked into a straight right, and that changed everything.
I bet, dude. That's one of the things that we don't really. I think we agree.
Yeah.
We watch the. There's all these clips on Chang's. That's another name for the Reddit, and they show Schaub getting knocked out because there's some pretty famous knockouts. I think Travis Brown knocks him out, and some
Travis
other
Brown.
people. And there's one where he's like reaching up like this because he has brain damage probably.
Sure.
And I just every time I see it, it doesn't really make me laugh. I'm sort of like sad.
No, I'll never
Yeah.
make fun of him for his UFC career. That's like crazy.
That's kind of what we like about him because I
Yeah.
started off as a fan from the Ultimate Fighter. Did you watch that at all?
I've watched some of the Ultimate
Right.
Fighters over the years.
Yeah. So we saw him on the Ultimate Fighter, and I was like, this guy's kind of funny. I actually thought that. I thought he was funny on that show, and he was cool. And then he started doing stand up, and around here, from open micers and other comics, only 1,000 can do it. I'd hear like people being like, "Oh, Schaub sucks. His special is terrible," and I sort of drowned it out because I was like, "Oh, I like the guy, and I don't care if someone's famous and goes into stand up."
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like no boxers got mad at you for trying to box for a little bit, right?
As far as I know, I'm sure some were offended.
It is funny because
I
it's
mean,
like, yeah.
ultimately, it was a show bit.
Yeah.
The bit
Yeah.
was that it was real.
Right.
You know, that was the hook.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happens if I fight? I didn't want to fight, like, to his credit. Like, Jake Paul right now is showing that he's a real fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, he's kind of, you know, he started off with fighting a basketball player. I think he knocked out Nate Robinson. But
Yes.
he's kind of stepped up his game and he appears to be a real fighter. And he's been
Yeah.
at it for 3 years. Again, I did it for 7 weeks. Okay.
Do you-
I
yeah.
mean, but my thing was, I didn't want to like fight some other radio guy with headgear.
Right.
I want to fight a guy who's actually a pro boxer who's done it before.
Right. Jake Paul is kind of is a bitch move to fight Nate Robinson a little bit.
no.
I'm just kidding.
It's
But do
an
you,
athlete.
yeah, as an athlete,
Yeah.
do you think you'd have a chance back then with was it Nate Robinson? Do you think you could knock him out?
I don't know. I was ranked
Yeah.
pretty much the lowest guy in the history of boxing.
Yeah, man.
I mean, the big thing, like I said, was I'll always have a regret as to what happened inside the ring. Like the fact that I made it happen, I had a ring entrance, I had thousands of people, I had a robe, I got in there, was in shape, all that stuff was awesome. And then I fell apart. It was like everything that I was taught in 7 weeks, the most basic of things of keeping your hands up, I wasn't doing that. And a lot of that to me was when I pitched this idea with a couple of the producers on the show. We were sitting at a Panera. And about 2 minutes later, CK, who you said you know,
Yeah.
was a producer on our show, is now a program director, Big Silly. He said, he's like, man, you're going to get your ass kicked. And I was like, yeah, but it's probably going to be fun. And I don't know that I could ever release that. People always say that you're supposed to be able to, you know, kind of envision your success. I don't know that I ever envisioned the success. And all I really wanted to do was fire punches.
Yeah.
So the week of my fight, as stupid as this sounds, was able to interview Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone at that time, because my fight was in 2006. I've almost forgotten. And one of the Rocky movies was coming out, Rocky Balboa, which was, I think, the 6th installment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in town, and I was able to interview him. And was only supposed to have 4 minutes. When you do these celebrity interviews, sometimes it's an assembly line of people. And I wanted to like get in. It was the week of my fight. And I threw in Jimmy Lang's name and he kind of lit up.
Whoa.
And then I told him, I was like, I'll interview you about the movie, like the stuff that he, you know, you get notes sometimes, like they wanted to mention about the boxing scenes and the choreography and all this
Right.
stuff. I was like, but let me slide something in about my fight. And so I said, as Rocky Balboa, what would your advice be for me in the ring? And he said, be first and be lethal. And that, as stupid as that
Whoa,
sounds,
that
it didn't
sounds
matter.
awesome. What?
It didn't say, as stupid as it sounds, as all my training about like moving around and keep my hands up and jab, I just wanted to like in a barroom brawl,
Yeah.
you
Right,
just
right.
cock your fist back. And that's probably the worst thing you could do
That's so
against a
funny.
professional boxer, because I'm instead of being short,
Yeah.
I was like bringing this hand back trying to kill this guy. And he immediately realized, oh, I'll just throw left hooks to his face.
Damn. So yeah, Stallone gave you terrible advice, and you went in there and you went in there to kill.
But it was, it's good character advice.
Yeah, you'd be great in a movie.
Yeah.
There should have just been a movie. What's interesting to me about that is like, so you went in there and you had all this training and you immediately forgot it, and you
Pretty
you
much.
put your hands down. Your footwork was bad, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but the truth is, I mean, I never videoed myself in the
Right.
7 weeks of training.
Yeah.
It probably was bad all along. Had I not had a radio show, there's no way I should have ever been put into the ring. I had to commit fraud to make this fight happen as a pro. I remember being petrified. I showed up to like Richmond, Virginia, the capital of Virginia, to show up to some commission, and I had a document where I claimed that I boxed in college.
Oh, shit.
And I had like some people sign off to make it happen.
Wow.
What you did when you're going into the ring and you forget, you have all this training and you forget all of it. That's how Schaub is with stand-up. Because Schaub, he's done. What did he say? He made up some absurd lie. Like when he just started stand-up, he was like, "I've done 1,000 sets." It had been like a month or something.
Right.
So he exaggerates, and so but I think he does get a lot of shows because I'll see him when I'm out at the Comedy Store. He was there on a show, but when he gets on stage, it's almost as like he's never done stand-up before. Every time.
Why does Rogan back him so much? Or he used to, right?
Yes.
Well, yeah, Brendan has a theory that Rogan is Oppenheimer for stand-up comedy.
Yeah, I do. Like we like Rogan. We listen to Rogan. I'm a fan. But as far as like who he picks to be like the next big stand-up, he's not always hitting, right? Like Schaub and Schultz would be the main examples of like, I can't believe that you think either Brendan Schaub is good or Andrew Schultz. Because we watched the latest Andrew Schultz special. I'm not sure how aware you are.
Not familiar with him.
Yeah. And I'm assuming he's never done the Sports Junkies, right?
No.
Yeah. So it was really bad.
Or I don't remember.
Yeah, or you totally forgot him.
possible.
Nobody knows who you are, Schultz. Oh, really, dude? Yeah, it's so funny. If this were like on Chang's, they would pull up like a clip of the Sports Junkies interviewing Schultz. Like, oh, JP looks like you could do Schultz or whatever. Yeah, but yeah, I just I don't think he picks the best comics to do it. And also, it's funny because you said that CK said you're gonna get your ass kicked or something like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the Rogan thing with Schaub, where he's like, I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
No.
So you saw I Think You Should Be Surprised. That's the name of his
Okay.
first special.
Got you.
On Showtime. That name comes from this famous clip now where it's Brendan Schaub. He's on the Rogan podcast, and Schaub's been knocked out a few times, and Rogan is his friend, so he's worried about him, and he's like, hey, man, like, there's a lot of people in the heavyweight division that can kick. I'm like doing that word for word. But they can kick,
Paraphrasing.
paraphrasing. There you go. We do Schaub stuff here, too. So, paraphrasing. Got the best brains. He's like, there's a lot of people that can kick your ass. Have you thought about maybe doing comedy or whatever? And then he asked him specifically about this guy, Cain Velasquez. And he's like, how do you think you'd fare against him? And Schaub goes, I think you'd be surprised. And Rogan looks at him. He's like, I think you'd be surprised. And shortly after that, Schaub quits.
Yeah.
So CK is kind of doing that to you where he's like, you're going to get your ass kicked. But it's even more brutal.
Yeah, because CK wanted, honestly, we wanted a good bit.
Right. Okay. So he's just doing a bit.
The fall ratings period. And he was
Okay.
willing to sacrifice my health and well-being for the greater
So he's an
good.
evil genius.
The greater good was the show.
Yeah, no, and I like CK and all my short dealings with him. He's been nice, but if I were about to go do a boxing fight and the guy was like, my friend, and he was like, you're going to get your ass kicked, I'd be like, come on, man. What are we doing here? I'd want some like encouragement because unless he's trying to get you to not do it, which
again,
clearly he's not.
It was at this lunch, and it's when we were pitching the idea, and they were trying to convince me to actually do it because I had thrown out the idea at one point, and they were like, you won't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? Let's fucking do it. And then about a minute passed. He's like, man, you're going to get your ass kicked. And what I'm telling you is,
I don't like
I
it.
don't know that I ever released that thought because let's just say I gave you 2 months. I'm going to have you fight a professional boxer.
Right.
Do you think you actually can win?
I
You shouldn't be able to win.
No. Right. Yeah. But I want you, like, we're not friends. Like, we just met. And
Right.
we're like acquaintances and you're great. But we're not friends. But if you were my friend and I was going to do something like that, what I would want is for you to talk me out of it. Not in your situation because you trained and
you're
it's
right.
good. But like me, I'm like a fat idiot. If I give myself 2 months, I'm going to get murdered.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what happened to me.
Yeah, but you're fine. You still look fine. Like,
I
I'm gonna have
survived.
lasting damage if I fight somebody. That's why I'm like half jokingly worried that Schaub is gonna take me out someday. Not really though.
Yeah, I
think
mean, I lose
maybe-
every fight that I enter that's not planned.
Exactly.
So I can't imagine given any time and doing better.
Were you winning? Like, have you ever had fights just like as a kid or high school?
Not
college?
really, other than, like I said, I grew up across the street from EB. We used to play sports in my backyard all the time. Every once in a while,
Right.
when we were probably 10, 11 years old,
Right.
we might get into a scrap, but nothing
Okay.
of consequence.
I like that. So did you win the fights with EB?
No recollection.
No recollection.
We
That's
did.
too
We
bad.
did have a little altercation on the show one time. He jumped over the board.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
we got into something, but it wasn't a real fight.
Because you kick his ass, probably.
No, I mean, who knows? I don't need to start that up.
Yeah, sorry. Somebody.
He's a
I think
bigger
Shorts,
dude.
Like Shorts mentioned that came up on the their podcast. One of the guests, they were like talking about it. But yeah, I didn't see that. I don't remember that other than them just saying it. But yeah, too bad we can't get the skinny on that.
No, the reality is brothers fight, right?
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers growing up? Did you have brothers?
I have a brother, but he's 13 years younger than me.
So he kicked his ass.
That's a lot. But,
Yeah.
brothers fight. And on our show, The Junkies, we're really four brothers. So
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get in arguments and it
Yeah.
might get heated. But then 5
For
minutes
sure.
later, it's no big deal.
Yeah, we know about that. Gerard almost left the show.
Oh, yeah, but that was something outside of everything we got going on.
That's how it always is. It's like conflict and all that stuff. Would you now that you've done this show, would you ever have like Brendan Schaub on the Sports Junkies, do you think?
I mean, I don't know. See, we have comedians on the show.
Yes.
It'll usually be run by a producer to
Okay.
all of us. So like, are 4 of us going to agree to have Brendan Schaub? Now that I've done this show, I would say let's do it, but it's probably going to be bad.
Yeah.
So if I let the other guys know it's going to be bad, they're probably not going to want to do it. So it might
Right.
not be for the greater good of the show.
Right.
It would be questionable.
The one thing that would, if you're a numbers guys, which is another Schaub, isn't it would get some ratings, I think, because especially after doing this. Not
But
that
I
we
already
matter,
told
we
you,
don't
he
matter.
big timed the show.
Oh, yeah.
When we did the picture
Right.
in that little lineup afterwards, whatever, the meet and greet after the show.
Right.
And my buddy throws in, hey, you should do my buddy's radio show. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he definitely big timed doing the show as if he
Yeah.
was above it.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a donk for doing that and just in general. But now, like Schaub now, I mean, he's doing podcasts with like people that just you don't have any idea who they are.
I mean, kind of like me doing your show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you doing this. It's very nice of you. But like he'll do a podcast with some guy who has like a bottle of alcohol on the table, and then it'll be like, "Man, you're like in MMA," and he's like, "Yeah, dude, I saved someone." They have like some lie where he's like, "I saved someone's life. I pulled them out of a car," and just random shit. So the problem, he may not be a draw for tickets, but as far as like viewing wise, him being on the show. If you have to sell this to Cakes and Lurch and EB, you can just say, "Hey, listen, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen that want to see this." And
But
get 'em on.
aren't ratings like determined off of like live listens?
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah,
it's a very complicated thing, and
Yeah.
I think we're not even supposed to talk about it, but
No.
basically,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
total amount of people listening, total time spent listening.
Okay,
So you could have half the amount of people listening, double the amount of time
Right.
should equal the same.
I'm intrigued by that process though. Of like,
But now,
voting.
to be honest, I've been doing the show for all these years. I don't know exactly how they do it. I also know that there's streaming now, there's podcasting, there's all
Right.
these things. I don't know how they throw it all in together.
is that like the Nielsen ratings or is that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
yeah, we don't know shit about that, or at least I don't. But do you guys like vote on like so they say the program director or somebody gives you a guest and you vote on whether they come on or not?
Not most of the time, no. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you throwing me a Brendan Schaub, like, is it possible him coming on the show? Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't normally come up.
If you had to guess where people would vote, what would Cakes be a yes or no to Brendan Schaub?
He would be a no.
Really? Cakes would be the no?
Yeah.
Cakes is the nice guy. He's known as the very nice junkie. So even the nice
But
junkie
he's not
saying
into MMA or,
Oh, he's not?
no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Jason
super
would be
into it.
out.
Yeah, well, Jason's out probably. He doesn't want to show up.
It'd be an on the fence at best if there was a vote.
You ask any guest, he's probably like, I don't even want to be there that day.
There's a possibility of that. No, he's Jason's like the show. Look, there's 4 guys, 4 different personalities, 4 different sets of interests. Jason's big
Yeah.
into sports.
Yeah, that's
Right.
He's always been the sports guy.
Right.
So he would love to have, the catcher from the Nationals on the show, and
Oh,
then next
ugh.
week have the tight end from the Commanders. Like, and
nightmare.
he's just big into all of that type of stuff.
I hate that. I mean,
So that's
Lurch
why
is
there's
hilarious.
a balance. Like there's
Yeah.
there's a balance. There are guys who are, I'm kind of in the middle, but there's some that are more into sports. There's some that are only into the local teams. There's some that aren't into sports at all.
Yeah.
And so it's a good mix.
I like sports. I like watching. I'm way less into it, like I said, but I much more enjoy you guys when you were doing like, I hate to say guy talk because I hate
Sure.
that phrase, but guy talk or just you guys talking about life, way more interesting than the catcher. That's such a lame. We're having on the catcher from the Nationals, unless he's like hilarious himself. I don't know, what do you think?
I don't see a problem with it. That's kind
It's
of
a
interesting.
mix.
guy.
It's a mix.
It's called
And-
the fucking Sports Junkies, dude.
and
Jesus Christ.
but it's always been a mix though of like
Yeah.
the guy talk in our lives. It's changed over the years because like when we started, all right, I'm 52 years old. I'm almost 53.
Right.
When it started, I was 26, 27 years old. And we kind of had kind of a frat boy vibe, even though none of us were actually in a fraternity. We had kind of a frat boy vibe on the air.
Right.
We did nights for 5 years. Sometimes we were drinking on the show. We were just having a good time.
Yeah.
Having
Right.
fun. Then you start getting married, and this is not to say you can't have a good time when you're married. Start married and having kids, and the lives change, and sometimes the content changes.
Right.
Truth be told, you're mentioning going to a spring break party.
Yeah.
So we used to do these wild shows. It was kind of themed around, when we had the idea years ago, MTV used to do these spring break things like 25 years ago, and they would have bikini contests and all these sort of things. So that was kind of our idea. Like our audience is men 25 to 54. Let's do something like that. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And then at one point, we're probably 40 to 42 years old on stage, packed crowd,
Right.
doing these just dumbass contests. And
Yeah.
we're like, what are we doing? You know, we have like, I got a 10-year-old daughter at home.
Yeah,
What am I doing? I've got guys throwing yogurt at chicks' faces.
Yep.
And it's like, maybe
Remember
we
that.
need to graduate from this. And so things change, but in essence, it's still a guy talk show, for lack of a better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet
It's a guy talk show with sports.
Yeah.
you get to a point where the 10 center thing doesn't make sense anymore.
Correct.
Yeah. I
And
don't
also
know.
not trying to get fired. Like there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that maybe we did 15 years ago you couldn't do now.
Yeah, it's lame when people are like, mad that you did something 15 years ago on a show for people.
That is
laughing.
lame.
Yeah.
But you also have to know if you want to keep working, and I do.
Yeah. Yeah,
I do.
exactly,
I've got
exactly.
3 kids. My daughter went to NYU.
Right.
Pretty penny. Okay, I've got 2 more kids
Right.
that are
Yeah.
going to eventually go to college, hopefully.
Right.
I need to save my cash. I need
Exactly.
to work.
Right.
I'm not making Howard Stern money. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No.
So you guys aren't talking about Lizzo on your show, you know what I mean?
I mean, every once in a while, we do an entertainment page every day.
She's
Right.
a real sicko.
So-
You guys heard about this?
Yeah, no, I did hear about the Lizzo stuff.
What they're not doing is calling people Barbie. You're not going to be doing
Oh,
that.
no.
But you
We'll
guys,
try to avoid that.
yeah, you guys, do you still do the bit where you like go over the songs and then you've never heard of any of the top songs? That
So we used to call that hit or hurting.
Oh, yeah.
It is transformed. It transformed into pie or poo. Somewhere
oh,
along
that's
the line.
new.
It's the
Shit,
same
new
thing.
slang. Okay.
And I think it's basically so our producer Valdez. He loves playing fart sound effects. So I think
Right.
it's pretty much so
Oh.
he can play a song, so he can play his fart sound effects and laugh at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it'll come up on occasion.
I like that.
Yeah. Are you the kind of guy that doesn't like fart jokes?
I mean, it depends.
Okay, so you're
I'm not
not
going to
that
laugh
kinda
at
guy.
every fart
Yeah,
joke,
yeah,
but some
exactly.
fart jokes are fine.
Yeah, we got a friend, Miguel. He's very anti any fart joke.
No, I'm not anti.
I've got a problem with that. It's like not one, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's kind of like sociopathic if you ask me. You know?
That's pretty uptight.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought that was.
Have you seen the Gringo Poppy?
I watched a little bit on my ride over here.
Of the Gringo Poppy.
I did. It was kind of a struggle, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's
So
pretty
like
bad.
the beginning of it,
Yeah.
we've watched so much of it. I know like what happens. And he comes out, he's like, "What's up, Dallas? Some ladies in the crowd tonight."
Yes.
Where did you get to? Do you remember?
I mean, literally probably about 7 minutes in.
So there's our favorite line.
I was doing the old, 10-second
Yes.
forward, 10-second. When's he going to start doing his stupid show? So it was probably about 3 minutes of just BS at the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
And then I can't even remember what the shtick was that he was going to get into.
Dude, YouTube.
Oh, his kids and masks and
yes, Nina Fauci, Nina Delta. He says like he has this bit where he's like, my wife's all like, Nina Fauci, Nina Delta. Did you get to that?
Yes, I did.
Hilarious. So you fast. I bet if YouTube like checks the like analytics of it, I bet there's like so much people going like bang, 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 like fast forwarding through the thing.
Yeah.
Our favorite thing though is the Mr. Whole Foods thing.
Oh, mine is beans and cheese.
Oh, yours is beans and cheese.
He said he complains that his wife makes beans and cheese every night, but he says every night, and he goes beans, cheese, beans, cheese, beans, cheese, beans, cheese.
Yeah. It's true. So it was not very good.
And then he says that he's white, so he needs a tater tot at least once a week. And that's another one of our favorites. Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything worse than Brendan Schaub?
Have I seen anything worse than Brendan Schaub? Probably not. I mean, I've seen people that are like similar to Brendan Schaub. Right. And you know what? I hate to bring this up. Right. I've been to like the DC Improv a ton of times. We have a relationship with the radio show, and I would go probably 3 or 4 times a year. That might not seem like a lot. You guys, guys who are doing comedy all the time. But I saw Richard Lewis, and he's a freaking legend.
Right.
And I remember just maybe because my expectations were so high, and I remember the whole time he was just meandering, and that's part of his shtick.
Right.
Like eventually he'll get to his point, like, how is this guy like a Hall of Fame comedian?
Yeah.
So I don't know I think Brendan Schaub's material was horrible and I felt like he was lying. But there have been other comedians where I've walked out like, I can't believe that. I saw Tommy Davidson recently.
Oh, was he good?
And Tommy Davidson had 2 shows that night, and I went to his first show. And I felt like, and I get it, a lot of people do crowd work, whatever. And I felt like Tommy Davidson was just playing to the DC Improv crowd there, and he was doing, look, he's very good with impersonations, whatever. And I was like, I don't think he did his material.
Yeah.
Like I walked away, like I think his material is probably for the second show. I went to the first show, and he's just doing shtick, and he was amazingly talented. You know, when he does Sammy Davis or he does all these different impersonations. So, you know, not to be some super harsh critic, because I'm entertained, but there are some times where shows can go off the rails.
Sure.
Sometimes the material's not great. I'll keep saying it about Brendan Schaub. It was very unspectacular.
Yeah.
With Richard Lewis, I know he's done shows at the station. Did you ever interview that guy?
Richard Lewis, I believe, has been on our show.
Because the reason I know that is because there was a short story where like Shorts was one of the guys that would get guest drinks. So he got a Dr. Pepper for Richard Lewis, and he brought it to him, and Richard Lewis like looked at it and he was like, you didn't do anything to this, did you? He's like a very paranoid guy.
He's very neurotic.
And it could
I think he's great on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah. No, he's funny.
And I'm sure he's great at times.
Right.
But sometimes the truth is I saw George Carlin one time in Vegas, and right up front, Carlin goes, he has a notebook, and he goes, I have a special coming out on HBO in 2 months, so I'm just working through some material. I'm like, so we're just like the trial balloon?
Yeah,
like I thought I was going to
show.
to the show.
Yeah.
This is your tryout.
That's absolutely the way that, and Schaub calls him George Carlton. So George Carlton, that's the way he did it. He would like, I have friends that would go to his shows. I never got to go. I wish I did. I would love to see George Carlton live. But he goes on stage, and did he have all the papers on stage and everything?
I think he just had what I remember. I mean, this is probably over
Like
a
a
decade
legal
ago,
pad.
Right?
Like a spiral notebook or something.
He literally will go to colleges, and he'll have all this paper everywhere, and he'll like go through it and say a joke, and then if it lands, that's what makes it in this like yearly special.
Right.
That was his process. I'd love to do that, but I would also feel bad.
Yeah.
And the audience, I'd be like, I don't think a lot of people do that unless they're hugely successful comics. Yeah. But you've heard it here. Richard Lewis worse than Brendan Schaub. Tommy Davidson, I remember him from In Living Color. So he's still doing the same kind. Like I remember.
Well, he was doing a lot. This is the other thing. All right. I am a white guy. I don't know if you can see that. Although I am half Puerto Rican, half Italian. And it was largely an African-American audience at the DC Improv that night, probably 90%. And he slid into, I don't even know some of these R&B artists, but he's so talented that like he'll start singing and it's like really good, but it's like I didn't necessarily
but you didn't even
get
the
it.
reference. Yeah, you didn't get it. Yeah. I mean,
and he's good. He's been on our show. I think he's excellent and it was entertaining. It's just that I felt like he didn't do his material because he had his second show. Whatever he was, I mean, I don't know. I didn't go to the second show.
For sure. This is a ridiculous question to ask you, but I'm just curious. Do any of the other junkies know who I am?
I would guess no.
No. Yeah, I didn't think so. I was thinking maybe EB knows. One time at a Sundress Sillies party, I walked up to him and I was all nervous. I was like, shorts is now
Right.
with you guys. And I was like, hey, I'm Brendan. I'm Oathman's best friend. And he looked at me all drunk and he was like, I know who you are.
Oh, so,
I was
maybe
like,
he
yeah.
does.
Yeah, I don't know. So definitely.
Do you think you left a lasting impression?
No,
This
no.
lasted a decade?
No, probably not. He may have forgotten since then, you know?
Right.
Those were great parties, though.
No, we had good
Yeah.
times at those parties.
Yeah.
But yeah, that goes back to what you were saying about Tommy Davidson. You know, there's an epidemic in comedy of people doing crowd work. Have you ever been attacked while being in a crowd?
So, not really, other than, you want to, again, I'm 52.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, a group of us went to a place in DC called the Comedy Cafe. And one of the guy's girlfriend's mother worked there. So we actually got the tickets for free or whatever. And they put us in the front row. And the comedian picked on us because we were a bunch of high school guys with we had dates. It wasn't a prom or anything, but it was almost like that. It was like
Yeah.
4 guys and 4 girlfriends. And so it was a quick lesson in don't ever sit in the front row.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you thought you were cool. It's like, oh man, Don's mom's putting us in the front row. This is awesome.
There's never a good interaction with a comedian when you are not a comedian.
I will leave if they make me sit in the front row.
Yeah.
I would never do that. I've just seen I've seen it go badly for so many people, but I think some people enjoy that.
Yeah.
Did you like it when you got shit on?
Again, 17 years old. I'm 52.
Can't remember. We're asking you to remember things from 60 years ago. We don't have the best brains for the arts at all.
No, I think I don't like crowd work. It's a necessary evil, I think. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just never. You could say that you like save kids or like you're a foster parent,
And again,
they'll find a way.
Tommy Davidson, immensely talented.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just, it was more because I've been to enough shows
Yeah.
and I'm certainly not a comedian, but I know a little bit about the process that I felt like he left the material on the board. But there's, a guy who we have on the show pretty frequently we're friends with is Rich Voss. He does a ton of crowd work and it's awesome. He'll
Yeah.
just sit down on a stool and he just goes.
Yeah, he's hilarious. And I actually remember some of the interview. I remember one interview with him and you guys where he was just sort of like shitting on the way you guys look. He was
Probably.
he was like ranking them. He was giving them, he's like, you're a 6 to EB. And he's like, I'm like an 8. I'm a solid 8. And you said something funny. You were like, I think I'm an 8 too. And Rich is like, no, you're not. I don't know why he would think that. Do you, who's your like favorite comedian do you think that's been on?
Wow.
Bobby Lee.
No, Bobby Lee's excellent.
Right.
You know what? This is like this is maybe hacky, but there's a guy named Bob Marley who's in Maine.
Oh, yeah.
He cracks me up. He actually shows up and like a lot of people don't like this. He'll show up with some notes, but he does goofy impersonations of like his sister and his mom, whatever. And it's just like, to me, funny is a very personal thing. Like a comedian that you love, you may not love. And, I don't know. For some reason, that guy is always killed on our show. Rich Voss is another one that now he's totally different. He just comes in and kind of hangs. He doesn't have like, I want to hit this material.
Right.
Bobby Lee's excellent. Like, I can't remember. He always says the same like Andre Agassi joke about one of the guys and what he looks like. But just the energy for him is great.
Yeah.
Do you know Bob Marley?
No, I don't know about
Bob Marley is like the king of Maine.
Correct.
He has like all throughout New England, he has all these stops that he can go to. He was in Boondock Saints. That's where I
Yes.
know him from. He was like the wacky cop. He's a white guy.
Yeah.
Bob Marley. He probably has bits about the name thing, but he's like this insane comic. Cause the people that we watch, most of them have attained success.
Right.
You know, like they're all rich and successful.
So you're telling me this isn't the successful life?
No, this is this is like someday people are gonna watch. We've been watching since the weird tack things on the wall. We've been watching since the Sports Junkies guy.
I'm
was
still
on.
trying to figure out. So raccoon Tweeties.
Right.
Yes.
All right. But on when I look over here, it's like blocked out. I'm like, your producer doesn't even have the full sign on.
Oh, no.
There's a
we
different
just
visual.
change signs. Yeah.
Got you.
We're in the process of
Like,
getting...
shouldn't that sign be lower or the camera
Yeah.
be higher?
No,
Like,
no, you can't. We're not. This isn't even going to be on the show.
Okay.
Most of the time, we like put
So
the
this is your
neon
pretend
sign.
green screen.
If we could be completely honest with you, there's one guy that always comments, real jerk. His name
Yeah.
is Porto Film something. He
Okay.
hates the new setup. So he's making us very insecure about it all. So we're in the process of getting rid of the table and just to please one guy. Because we have
Yeah,
three
the table
listeners.
doesn't work. It's too big.
Yeah.
we all agree about that.
But yeah, that's why I was telling you it's a kind of experimental. I really like it, how it looks. I just need to get another key light here somehow.
The people that we watch, they have these amazing setups and big studios
Yeah.
and all that. But then at the same time, they're all sort of like crazy or alcoholic. Some of them are fat. Schaub's getting kind of fat and his face is starting to look weird, which we're worried about. But how did you maintain, like, not, how have you achieved success without becoming like a kind of an alcoholic fat guy? Because we don't want to.
sorry. Mike.
Don't worry, that's us. That's our setup. You talk shit about it, he'll get you. He'll keep you busy.
It
All
bites
right, the
back.
question was, how have I not become a big fat
Hurting.
hurting?
Yeah, how are you not a big fat hurting?
I don't know. We're just regular dudes. Like the cool. Like I think it's hard to talk about your own show. I don't know
Yeah.
if does this happen often to you where people will ask you about your show and
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah, it does, but they're like fucking, they want to know how much we make and how many subscribers we have. It's very like, when someone does that, I'm like, oh, you too?
But
You
they don't
really
ever
want-
say something like, "How do you maintain your humility with the success of 10 minutes of Schaub?"
That's a nice-
It's a weird
oh, yeah, it's not that
bit.
successful.
It's a weird bit
I
like, to
know.
answer it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just regular guys. Like
Yeah.
the reality is, we were four guys who were on different career paths, and then we had this moment, a light bulb moment of like, can we do a show together? And then once we started doing the show together, we started having fun together. And once that started to happen, we got noticed, and we've been doing it since. Like, it beats working a real job. So I think we've all been pretty grounded in that we're just regular guys who
Yeah.
got lucky and became successful.
That's how you know
Yeah.
Brendan's a terrible person. He's like, how do I stop being a terrible person?
Yeah, I'm basically asking. It wasn't a real question. I just wanted to say the fat alcoholic thing. It makes me laugh. But I mean, it's probably like what you said. You're like grounded. I wonder if it's like family or just because you started with your friends or something like that. But you're not like a nut. You don't even do the same crazy bits anymore because you've realized that it's probably a bad idea to throw yogurt on people's faces now.
It probably is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which we can
Probably
start
shouldn't
doing
even
now.
bring it up.
Yeah, sorry.
Honestly, like I'm sober almost 5 years now. In September, it'll be 5 years.
That's great.
But if I would have started doing all this stuff when I wasn't sober, I probably would be a laughing stock or like some, I don't know. I'm probably homeless, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I were to relapse and continue doing the things, then I could probably go down the same path as all these other fat alcoholic R-wordists and whatnot, you know?
Are you gonna have blue shorts? Well, no, you're not. You're gonna be good.
What?
But like, if you're not gonna relapse.
No, what were
right?
you going to say about blue shorts?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna have blue shorts or Oathman on the Junkies, or have they been on to promote? It doesn't matter at all.
They have been on to promote, I think, shorts. I can't even remember. I'm a fan of their show. I
Right.
root for them to succeed. They're two guys, like I said, we knew a long time ago, and they did a show for a while called the C&O Show.
Yes.
And they've reconnected to do this show.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't matter, and they're trying to figure it out. Shorts, I think, came on to promote Oathman's like
Yeah.
they have their show, but then they have their individual shows within the show. It's hard to
It's confusing.
explain.
We were talking about that offline. I want to talk a little bit of shit about them.
Okay.
So what I don't like is the Zoom thing, right? Like they're not in the same room,
Yes.
which doesn't make any sense because
They live close.
They live, yeah, they don't
Yes.
live far. It's not like one of them lives in even Maryland.
Right.
They both live in Northern Virginia. I don't understand. This is a message just to them, Oathman and Shorts. Film it in the same room, right? Am I wrong?
It's definitely preferable. Look, during COVID, the four of us, because it's the way you had to do it, we did our show. We continued to do our show from our homes.
You had to. Yeah.
You had to. Everybody's quarantined, whatever. And it's just not the same. You can have fun, but it's not the same. Like, let's say you were getting married. You're going to
Yeah.
have a bachelor party. Do you think a Zoom bachelor party would be the same as like getting together
No.
with the guys?
Well, I'm
No,
different.
it's nubs.
Right.
Do you think
And
it's
so
a-
I think those two guys, you're right. I hadn't really thought about it, but also they have technical issues all the time. All right. So if you're having technical issues because one guy's mic's too hot, the other guy's, how about you actually do it together?
Exactly. Do you think it's a donk move? I'm asking you right now. Is it a donk move
If
to
you
not
ask
record?
me, yes, no.
Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. Are there any other donkey? Because we're trying to help. We're friend.
Right.
I'm like Oathman's best friend. Shorts is one of my best friends. So this is coming from a place of like, I want success for them. And they've helped me out. They've given some advice, and Oathman is like kind
They
of.
have not helped us out at all.
Well, there's the idea. The idea.
No.
That, like,
They
just-
have good souls and they have good intentions, but
Yeah, sure.
they hurt more than they help. What were you saying?
Have they been out here to visit you?
No, if they come out, they'll be on.
So
They'll
your
be
best
sitting where you're
friend.
sitting.
I just wonder. Sometimes people
Yeah.
say best friend, and I'm not denying
Oh,
that
no,
you're
no,
best
that's a
friend.
good question.
Like he's
That's right.
never
Where?
visited in 10
Yeah.
years.
What's that? What's up? Well, we moved out here together.
Okay.
I don't know. And Shorts came out once when we were both out here.
Okay.
But you're right. But I've gone back. So it's
Okay.
kind of like I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to go back anyways to see
I get
family.
it.
So I'll
Yeah.
go and hang and see the
It's
kids.
like when
and
my
all that
brother's in
stuff.
New Jersey, my mom's in Bowie. I never go to New Jersey. It
Exactly. I
comes
mean,
down all the
you're
time.
with your family now and you could
Right.
douche them to be here. So we're in the same boat. We don't need these people. We're successful
Yeah.
guys, you know? Where was I? Oh, yeah. I was going to say.
You're claiming that
You're,
Oathman and all them help us.
I didn't know that.
I was lying about my friendship with Oathman, but after that, what I was going to say
You're
is.
trying to pick apart their show right
Exactly.
now.
Which
Does
I
your
think is
audience care about their show?
I don't care if they care. This is funny to me.
Okay.
I want to gadoosh my friends. Well, are there any other donk moves you think that they're doing that I haven't?
I mean, we talked about this, I think, before we started the show. The boys, and I don't think they're doing it as much now, but when they started off, they talked a lot about the process of starting the show. And I do
Right.
think behind the scenes stuff is interesting at times, but not when it is outweighing the content of
Yeah.
your show.
It's not the entree, it's the garnish, dude. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you don't want to you want to have something interesting to talk about, interest in, but none of it is like how the camera or like what kind of sound we're going to get or whatever.
But my general advice to anybody that does any show, whether it's your show, their show, my show, is you just want to be having fun, right? If you're having fun, that's infectious. So that's what I've
Yeah.
told them. When I've listened to It Doesn't Matter.
Right.
When I'm hearing them having fun, that is interesting to me.
Yeah.
And it keeps me entertained. When they're not having fun,
Yeah.
it's less entertaining. I mean,
It's so funny that when I listen to It Doesn't Matter, that just sounds funny.
Right.
It sounds like you're shitting on them. Like, well, they
But it
don't
is
count.
the title of the
Yeah,
show.
no, but it's a good name. I like the name. But I have fun when I'm making fun of Blue Shorts. I think he's the character on all of the shows on the radio.
that's
Your
kind of
show
his
gets
his
bit.
calling card, right? Like
You, Dukes, probably even Don and Mike at some point. I don't even know. But it's
yeah, I don't
before
know
my
if he
time.
went that far back,
Yeah.
but I think Blue Shorts got his name from Chad Dukes, and then
Right.
he's a guy though that puts his heart on the line, like he'll do anything for you,
Yeah, no, he's
and
like one
that
my
kind of
best-
was his shtick
Yeah.
on our show.
Yeah.
Like if we needed a guy to do something wacky or zany,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Shorts was the guy.
Yeah, like a guy with a peanut-sized brain will do anything. He's totally that guy. Do you want to do check-in with Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our wrapping up segment where we just check in on our friend's Twitter.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh yeah, I'll pull it up because
No, go for the fucking song that we
Oh,
always do.
checking in with Scott. I'm like starstruck.
Jesus Christ.
Checking in with Scott. Checking in with Scott.
Alrighty, so it looks like he has not been fucking tweeting, dude. So
See,
this
our
is
Who
friend
is
never
Scott?
tweets. He's just like another comedian.
yeah.
Back when we first started, when we didn't have the great numbers, but we just stuck with it.
Oh, this is perfect for our guest, dude.
Okay.
Because I think that you rule.
Can you read it actually, JP?
Yeah. Well, it'll be on the screen here.
Sure.
Right here. Right here.
Oh, it's on the other screen.
Excited to enter my old guys rule phase.
Yeah, dude.
Gerardo just gadooshed you a little bit there. I mean, old guy, a bit older than us, but
I mean, I didn't tweet it, dude.
Yeah,
It was
I know,
Scott.
How old is Scott?
Scott's like probably 40 something.
That's about when you start feeling old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, when I did my boxing match, I was 36. I ran a marathon when I was 39. But like when you get to 40, everything's like breaking down
Yeah.
Fuck.
and it just gets worse and worse. I've had 5 knee surgeries.
shit.
And like if you're active, it starts breaking down. If you're inactive, it's just going to get worse. Your metabolism slows down.
Yeah. I'm worried about, I'm 36 now.
Your stream slows down. You'll start getting stream shamed like when you're peeing.
The
Have
pee
you noticed
slows.
that? Yeah, it slows
I feel
down.
like I'm peeing faster. I don't know.
Dude,
I might have
really?
better genetics than you do. Obviously not. But yeah, I don't know. Not yet.
I always thought that getting old was like past the age that you can join the Marines, which is like what 27 or something.
Is it?
I was always like, oh, that's when I get old, when I can't, you know.
Was that a backup plan for you?
For a long time.
You were gonna be a Marine. I just wanted you to be homeless. That's the whole reason I got you.
Yeah.
JP Flaim, certified homeless. All right, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. Join us next week. Join the Patreon.
Yes.